Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to talk myself because I hate the fact I'm interrupting a lot of great conversations, and really why we're here tonight was about talking about old baseball stories, and that was really the focal point for tonight, is coming together. A lot of people haven't seen each other for a very, very long time. For those of you who don't know, my name is Stephen Jones, and I, with myself, along with a committee of people, kind of set this show going for the weekend. So I'm pleased to welcome you all here at this very special ceremony. When the preparation started over a year ago, I hoped to have a big turnout, but I never could have imagined we would have this many people, and I'm thrilled to see everyone here. It's been great to see so many familiar faces, but also see some faces I don't know, but I've probably heard stories about you over the last several weeks as we've gotten together now for about, ever since, I think we had our first meeting this 1st of March. Preparation started about, like I said, a year ago, but the committee started meeting about the 1st of March and talking about how this night would roll out. When I was a kid, the summers revolved around baseball practices, baseball games, but most importantly, Shire Tanner doubleheaders at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock on a Saturday or Sunday. I needed to get to the games early enough to be a ball boy, potentially risk my life chasing a ball with what seemed like 100 other kids. Dave Lenahan would start out the day with $2, and that was huge, and it was 10 cents every ball you got. So it was a mad dash for every ball, and you wanted to get like over 250 because that was considered a big day if you get over 250. So, and when I became president of Woodstock Minor Baseball a few years ago, I realized why Dave did that. Because now the way I look at it, even as a coach, I'm like, well, that foul ball's $9. There goes $9.50 over the fence there. So I now clued in why Dave Lenahan was giving people a couple bucks and a dime every ball back in the day. And if you weren't a ball boy, you potentially are risking your life chasing the ball. The other option was to go on the old wooden scoreboard and risk your life up there. But that was always a great place to watch the games as well. But that's how I grew up. I remember my father taking me to a UMB hockey camp on a Sunday. And I was going to spend the week there, and we listened to CJHCJ, and we were listening to Don Peabody, who's with us here tonight, on the radio. And then when you got right between Nakawik and Kingsclear, that's when it started to get all ruffly and you couldn't hear it anymore. But we listened to it all the way to that point, and said that was my childhood. So tonight we are here to honor 4 men who have made that happen for hundreds of kids, made baseball what it was for myself back at that time in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s particularly. And one of whom of the 4 is still coaching and giving his time today. So, but we really are thrilled for everyone to be here. Thank you all so much. And to give a more formal welcome, I invite up the Honorable Mr. Mayor Art Slip to say a few words.
I, too, was amazed at some of the faces I've seen here tonight, and for those of us who were around in the 70s, it's hard to believe we're going back 50 years now. But seriously, I was warned to keep my remarks brief because we have a number of umpires and basketball referees here, and it won't take long to get thrown out, I'm sure. But on behalf of the citizens of the town of Woodstock, the greater Woodstock region, baseball fans throughout New Brunswick, thank each and every one of you for coming here tonight to share this special weekend. I did want to say one thing about Dale Allen in particular, aside from the baseball. Some of you probably are well aware, but Dale had a tremendous impact in this community beyond the baseball diamond. And I did want to make 2 comments. The contribution that he made to the educational system, District 29 here back in that day, is immeasurable. But a lot of you probably don't know about Dale's family and the passionate commitment that they have to primary health care. And Dale was more than a baseball player and a baseball coach. And I'm not going to get an opportunity to say too much probably tomorrow night, but I did want to make those comments tonight. Dale Allen Appreciation Day is certainly warranted, well beyond what he did on the baseball diamond. And I just wanted to share that with you. So I hope you have a wonderful evening. And again, thanks to each and every one of you for coming. And thank you for the opportunity to bring some remarks on behalf of our community.
Thanks, Art. A few little housekeeping items before we kind of get into the bare bones of what we're here tonight. A couple things. There's a 50-50 draw. Kenny's out there. There's a 50-50 draw. That 50-50 draw starts tonight and goes through the entire day tomorrow. For those of you who aren't aware, tomorrow we start at 10 o'clock. There's U11 games. At 11 o'clock, U13 games. At 12 o'clock, U15 games, all doubleheaders. U18 take the field at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. And then again, the ceremony, which will be at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So there's ball. The 50-50 will go right all through those fields and it'll be drawn tomorrow night during the last game. So if you do buy a ticket or whatever, make sure you hold on to it. We'll be posting that all over the place to make sure that people see the number of wins. And then all the money for that will go towards paying for this weekend. Billy Saunders is over here, which I'm sure by now most of you should know. We did allow the enemy in tonight just for this one. Really, honestly, Billy, we're really thrilled to have you here. And I obviously played against Billy for many years, as all of us have. And really appreciate it. Billy's got quite a project that he's done. Is a 2-volume book about really the senior league in New Brunswick, and Dale Allen's handprints are all over that. And Billy and I have been talking a lot over the last year, really since last summer. So he's got some copies over there to sell to people. And really, Billy, we appreciate you being here. Thanks so very much. Like I said, I guess I mentioned tomorrow what's going to happen tonight. Like I said, we're going to honor four longtime coaches in Woodstock. I have so many thank yous, and going to do a lot of those tomorrow night. And I hate doing thank yous because I know I'm always going to forget somebody. But as I said, this night started a little over a year ago. Sometimes I get big projects in my head and realize after the fact that they're not going to work. But this is one I felt very passionately about. I went to Dale about 4 years ago. Andy Lenihan and I have coached together for quite a few years, where our sons grew up playing baseball here in town. And we had every practice. The whole idea of, well, if Dale was here, Dale Allen, this is what he'd do. And it's no word of a lie. We did it every practice. Now I coach with Dwight Scriver and my brother Sean, and it's every practice. Well, Dale, when we did this with Dale, or most of the time from Sean, it's rage because kids don't run as fast as when Dale talked to you or do the things that Dale talked to you. They're millennials, so he's cursed Dwight and I for about the last year and a half for bringing him into these, whatever, because he, as so many of us do, think about baseball the way Dale Allen ran baseball practice and the way Dale Allen did things. And so I want to thank so many people. I want to start with Ryan Martin over here, because for those of you who don't know him, we had to have something not go right. So if you don't know, the internet is down. So this was supposed to be live streamed. The good thing about it is it will still be taped and will be put on YouTube. Ryan has been, for 4 weeks now, has been at the field, videoing our games and so on, and putting those on YouTube. And he's put in a tremendous amount of time into this. So thanks, Ryan, and Amanda. Believe me, I better not forget that, Ryan and Amanda, because she's been phenomenal as well. like I said, there's so many people I want to say. I want to thank the committee. There's about 14 people. I'm not going to name them all because I'll forget someone. We had one thing that I didn't have to do a lot of, which was a daunting task, is make a lot of phone calls, and that's because a couple of people took care of a lot of that for me. Dave Moffat, right here. Dave is. It was more enjoyable going to the meetings to talk about Dave's talking about phone calls and getting a hold of this person and how he tracked them down and this country and this city and whatever. Dave put a ton of time into this track, and so many people don't. I will tell you that if someone says, well, jeepers, they didn't contact me, it probably wasn't because we didn't try. Dave did a phenomenal job. Dave Lenahan and Andy Lenahan, same thing. They had a great big long list of people that they tracked down and contacted people and so on and so forth. I had Debbie Caldwell contact people. Andrea Anderson did a lot of, they all did a lot of calling to contact people, which was a ton of time. So I thank each and every one of them. Again, Jeff Rector put together the posters. Tomorrow, Jack Remington's going to put together, take some aerial views of the field for us to do. Wendy Cosman did the new sign that hopefully you'll see tomorrow at the field. Woodstock, the town of Woodstock has been great in supporting every bit of this. The rec department does a great job. The food trucks, which will be here tomorrow. I hate to do this because I know I'm forgetting somebody. I have to thank my wife, Holly, which I would, everything that I do is one way or another. She's kind of the organization behind things, and she does actually the dirty work, and she enjoys it. So that's, I like that. She does a lot of work on all these projects for me, so I thank her. And I hesitate because there's so many people that put time into this. Tomorrow, for any of you who are former players or coaches along with Dale, what we'd like to do during the 7:00 game is we're going to call all those former players down to stand along the first and third base lines. The teams, Woodstock and Fredericton, will be along the first to second and second to third base lines. But all former players and if you choose that you don't want to come down, then that's certainly up to you. But we do have a couple of golf carts that'll be there for people that are coming down over the hill. But just for tomorrow, we will be calling everyone down to go on the first base and third base line. So just a thought there. We would prefer, if at all possible, to wear red tomorrow. That includes Billy Saunders, not blue, red. If anyone's at the game. Like I said, we had the cash bar back here, and we have some snacks. And this was labeled as 7:00 to 9:00, but it's 7:00 till we decide to close. And so I'm making that executive decision. So people want to stay longer and keep those conversations going, please do. We can be here as late as we need to be. So I think that's the preliminary stuff. To get us started tonight, we will honor a man who is giving back to the baseball community. Dale, and I'm going to let the people speak about this, but I knew coaches put in a lot of time. And I've been coaching. I started coaching as soon as the year that came back from university. I started coaching. At that time, I started coaching hockey, and then I got into baseball about 13 years ago. And as a kid, you appreciate it, but you don't appreciate it. You know they're putting a lot of time, but you think of, well, we had an hour and a half practice. You don't take the time of all the time they put in before the practice and after the practice and the games and the weekends they take away from their families and so on and so forth. That's what really struck me as I became a coach. And the reason it was so important to me to give back this weekend was because I don't think I appreciated it at the time, and each and every one of these men deserve so much more than I can give them, and just a huge thank you for all the time and effort. And we're going to start with by asking that Peter and David McWayne come forward, and they'll talk about Dale McWayne.
Thanks so much, Stephen. And it's only fitting. The year Steve and I grew up playing baseball, Jones batting first, McElwain batting second, so it's quite fitting. And then Dave used to bat third, so it's it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, I've seen so many familiar faces, like Stephen is saying. Noonan from Holton, the Lawrences, the Kidneys. I can go on and on. McCaskills. We should be running bingo tonight. Bring back Woodstock minor baseball bingo. But it's amazing to see all old umpires that I used to see, rivals. It's just amazing. So, it's a tribute and an honor to be up here tonight to pay tribute to my father. And we don't know him as that. We all know him as not as coach. We know him as Doc Mack. And that's what he was known as on the ball field. So, and again, Dad, many of you have seen that Dad is closing his practice. And if you've been into his practice, you walk in that door and you're wondering if you're walking into a medical practice or if you're walking into the office of George Steinbrenner. There's a lot of Yankees gear there. If you haven't been in, check it out. Just a quick story, because there's so many stories that Dave and I growing up, playing baseball in the front yard, hitting balls across the street. And this happened 2 weeks ago. My son Easton and I drove home from Ontario, and we get to practice a half an hour early, and Dave and Dad are already out in the field. Easton walks out, and he throws a ball, and he steps with his wrong foot. And Dad goes over and says, "Easton, pick up that ball. Put your feet like this and step and throw. That's it. That's perfect. Never do it the other way again." And he did. And that's Dad's joy in baseball, teaching kids and making kids grow in the game. And that's one thing that I find that he enjoys. I'm not going to take up all the time tonight, but I know Dave has a few words, but a few quick things that I put together that you might have played for Doc Mack. You might have played for Doc Mack if you've been to Tingley Field in Fredericton for a doubleheader, and you've eaten lunch and dinner at McDonald's. If you've been to Chatham and Ironman Field from Woodstock Connell Park, it's a 3-hour drive, but you got there in 2 hours and 15 minutes in a blue station wagon. If you ever witnessed back-to-back home runs from Marginson, McElwain, and Wright in the Bantam Field. If you've ever seen Doc Mack run 100 miles an hour when Matt Grant and Trevor McGuire collided in Moncton. And if you've ever seen Doc Mack do this, it's when you look at the first pitch fastball down the middle. That's the best pitch to hit, if anyone knows. And if you ever played for Doc Mack, he's dedicated, knowledgeable, and one of the best coaches New Brunswick's ever seen. So cheers to you, Dad, and I'll hand it over to Dave.
Thanks, Pete. Very true. The first pitch is the best one to hit. I've been telling my kids that all year long. Just a couple quick words, guys. Like, one of my favorite baseball writers right now, Joe Posnanski, written a couple of books that's full of baseball. The Baseball 100. In each of those books, he makes reference to the connection of baseball, fathers and sons. You look at the major leagues, think of some of these names. You got the Hairston, right? You've got Guerrero, you've got the Griffey, you've got Alou, you've got the Ripkins. And then you look at our own town. Should have brought a booster seat. But even in our own town, like I said, we've got the Lenahans, the Joneses, the folks we're honoring here tonight, McElwain, Wrights, and the Allens. Dad and my connection really started back in T-ball, like a lot of us. But my earliest memories are really from 1983, my first year of competitive baseball. Mosquito A team that we had here in Woodstock. Dad was assistant coach along with Dale Allen. That's really when I started to learn the game. I think Dad started to learn the game, and a lot of us here in this room really started to learn the game. We were successful. We won the Atlantic Championship right here at Shiretown Field. The year after that, Dad took over as head coach, 1984, same Mosquito A team. A few other folks in the room were on that team. Guys like Barney Wright, Gordy Jones, even I think Rod McCaskill, all assistant coaches on that team. Everybody with sons on that team. Once again, successful that year. Won the provincial championship, went to St. John's, Newfoundland for Atlantics. Weren't quite as successful over there, but that's not what we took away from that trip. That was a great trip. Dad's dedication to the game followed me through the next 12 years. He coached through Beaver, through Bantam. We threw in another provincial championship there as well. On into midget and even into junior. He capped off what we thought would be the end, 1993, coaching the NB Selects team, which both Peter and Stephen played on. They went to Ottawa for the Nationals at that time, which one would consider that's a great coaching career. Doesn't end there. Anybody that knows Doc can't keep him away from the ball field. I started coaching Ben back in T-ball, and then in 2019, he played his first year of U11 rec. Sure enough, Dad shows up at the field every game, every practice. We played over at Pool Street. He was a fixture every single game we played, and he wasn't on the bench. He was in behind the pitcher's mound. He was out there to teach and mentor pitchers, not just for our team, but for both teams. I don't know if Johnny O is here tonight. Told me the story last week. We were away for a little golf tournament. Johnny said Thomas, his son, who was just starting to kind of ump at the time, wasn't sure if he could start the game because Doc was still standing behind the pitcher's mound. There's absolutely no way you're getting him off the field. We all knew what he was there to do. He was there to teach, and that's what he did. Now I lost my place. So after that, his coaching continued. 2020, we started the Western Valley started the U9 competitive team. Dad was out there again, and again last year and this year, 2021 and 2022, with our U11 team out there in the field, dedicated every single practice, every single game. Probably one of the, sorry, let's skip back. The connection between fathers and sons, it came to me again actually on Wednesday night this week when we had our practice. Pete, as he was just saying, has his son home from Ontario. They're over in the batting cage doing batting practice. Our practice is about to start. They both walk over onto the field. So on the field, we've got Pete and his son, me and my son, and Dad. 5 McElwains on the same field. Johnny O again witnessed this, and I think we're in breach of some sort of bylaw or something, Johnny. Too many McElwains on the field at the same time. But it was a pretty cool moment when I thought about that. One other moment that really stands out for me, though, is last year. Coaching the U11 Shiretowners, we were successful winning the provincials in Dieppe. Got a chance to go represent New Brunswick at Atlantics. One of the coolest things for me is 37 years to the day almost, when we went to Newfoundland, I stepped onto a field in Newfoundland with my son, my father, and me. And it was a pretty special moment. So Dad, like Pete said, I want to thank you for the dedication to us, my teammates, as we were growing up. But not only that, on behalf of me, the association, thanks for everything you do for the kids today as well.
Dad, come on up. We have a Red Sox bat for you.
What do I say after all of that? Anyway, I walked into this room tonight and I saw all these people here, and I knew that I was in the right element. I knew it was going to be a big evening because a whole room full of baseball fans. So that that was important to me. And I think, well, I've been in the town for 52 years, and I've been involved in baseball for quite a while. And just driving up here tonight, I sort of thought of the number of hours that I've actually spent, you know, in baseball, coaching and well, watching games on TV and so on. And I kind of hesitate to. I feel I don't deserve an award for doing something that I really love to do, and I think I'd like to thank the organizers here tonight for doing this event. I think that it's well overdue from the point of view of Dale Allen and what he's done for. And actually, this is the reason we're all here is because of Dale Allen. And so, what a guy! And so, thank you very much for the award, and thank you.
The idea isn't for you to hit ground balls with that bat on next practice day, Doc, just so you know. Yeah, that'll go in your office. Just before I do the next award, just as you saw the first one, all of our coaches will be honored with a commemorative bat here tonight. Our local do-it-all guy, Johnny O. Bats, right over there. John, throw your hand up so people know. You should seriously take a bow, because Johnny, what have you been at? Is this 3 years? So the third year, John, Kelly and I teach together as John's wife, and we, I feel for her. I love the man, but he just has projects all the time. But if you suggest something to John and it clicks, then it's going to happen. And he got talking to a guy down in Skowhegan one time through baseball. And the next thing you know, John's starting to whittle bats out. And I don't know how many he's sold. It's got to be over, it's over 100 for sure, that he's whittled out in the last 3 years. And these are just absolutely beautiful. Johnny O. Bats, I will mention the quote says, a good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life. I didn't come up with that. That was John Wooden. You might know his name. But it's a skill, and the Johnny O. Bat has become quite a thing in this town. So thanks, John, for all your work. So next I want to, I'm going to call up Michael Wright, and we're going to honor his late dad, Barney. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview first of Barney's baseball history. Mike's going to put a little of this into his story, but I just, Barney, my mother still on a weekly basis laughs about Barney Wright. She truly did love the man, especially through minor baseball, the bingo that was already mentioned, and just Barney just was just a solid guy. He actually called me the Oz. That's where I got my nickname for the longest time. One practice and it kind of stuck. But one thing that amazed me is when I look back at his coaching career, I knew he was successful. I had no idea just how successful. So I'm just going to read his accomplishments. In 1984, it was actually the year that Dale Allen moved on. Next year, and Dale McWayne coached. Barney was the assistant coach for our Mosquito Provincial Championship team. These were when he was assistant coach. In 1988, he was there again, still with Dale for the Bantam A, and Bantam A would be considered AAA now, so provincial champions. And then was again assistant coach during the 1999 Junior A provincial champions. Then in and throughout this, he took over as head coach. As head coach, he was the Mosquito B provincial runner-up in 1992, provincial B provincial champion in 93, Pee Wee B runner-up, Pee Wee B provincial champion in 1994, and an Atlantic runner-up. In 1995, he coached the high school team to a AAA runner-up. Bantam A Provincial Elimination Championship, and a silver medalist at the Nationals in 1996. In 1998, he again was the MBIA High School AAA runner-up. In 2000, Junior A Atlantic champion, and went to the Nationals in Kitchener. And then in 2001 and 2002, was the High School AA Provincial Championship coach, and was inducted to the Woodstock Wall of Fame in 2004. Michael will now come up and talk about Barney Wright, the man.
Thanks, Steve, and good evening to everyone. And I'd also like to thank Dave for cracking up a little bit, because I struggle to get through these as well. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming tonight, and a huge thank you to all the people that have made this possible. I think it's incredible. It's amazing to see so many people that I haven't seen in years and years, and it's my honor to speak on behalf of my family. But I'm sure most of you, including me, were hoping it was going to be the other Wright brother, but you've got me. My family and I know I tried too. My family and Sarah's family are thrilled to be a part of the weekend, and my mother really wanted to be here as well, but she's in St. John recovering from heart surgery, and I have written watching live, but due to the internet outage, she'll watch it later. And Andrew really wished he could be here as well, but his duties for the Yankees as the director of baseball operations for the Dominican Republic just didn't allow him to do that. But he and I spoke today, and he really wanted me to stress how impactful Woodstock minor baseball was on his career and continues to be, as through this day. I know that I've been asked to speak about my dad, but I'd actually like to speak about all four of the men that we're honoring today. I think I'm one of only a handful of people who had the opportunity to be coached by all four, and to have played with all four, or all of their sons as well. Now, to keep facts straight, Paul was our high school liaison, and Daryl and I played together long after our competitive careers were done, when we were playing intermediate. But nonetheless, I've experienced the influence of all four of these men. And I wanted to ask if any of you read the book Multipliers. It's How Best Leaders Make Everyone Smarter by Liz Weitzman. And if not, I highly recommend it. In the book, Ms. Weitzman defines two types of leaders: diminishers and multipliers. Diminishers are those leaders who drain intelligence, energy, and capacity and capability from those around them, while multipliers are those that use their intelligence to amplify the smarts and capabilities of those around them. These four men are multipliers. Their impacts can be felt far beyond the New Brunswick border. And I wanted to share a couple of stories of how that played out. During the pandemic, I watched YouTube videos of the head strength and conditioning coach of the San Francisco Giants. He wanted to make sure that he had video workouts for kids to continue to be able to stay active during the pandemic. And in case you aren't aware, the head strength and conditioning coach for the San Francisco Giants is Brad Lawson. He's a Woodstock native who came up through Woodstock minor baseball and was coached by these men. And being a head strength and conditioning coach for a Major League Baseball team is a big deal in and of itself. But when you're that for the team that's managed by Gabe Kapler, that's huge. And just recently, I was fortunate enough to be on the field at the Rogers Center for Yankees batting practice. And in talking with members of the Major League coaching staff, they emphasized the input and influence that Andrew has had on the Yankees organization. Andrew also had the opportunity to reminisce about Dale and Paul with Dave Jouse. And for those of you that may not remember, Dave Jouse was a coach that Dale and Paul had brought in to coach the Shire Towners right out of Amherst College. He most recently was the bench coach of the New York Mets. And Andrew had an opportunity to meet with him at the winter meetings in San Diego in 2019. And at the mention of the Shire Towners, his face lit up. And they chatted about it. And then Joust tracked him down the next day because he just wanted to keep talking about that summer and keep talking about Woodstock and the Shire Towners. A number of us have continued in their footsteps as coaches. The list is long, way too many to mention. There is one that I'm going to mention because I know he was dying to be here today, but with all of the airline challenges, he couldn't make it and his flights were canceled, and that's Phil Hempel. Phil Hempel continues to coach and is coached in British Columbia. But the list is long. I look around and there's a ton of coaches today. These stories and all the other stories that we're going to share over the course of this weekend started with these 4 men here in Woodstock. And now that I'm coaching my own son, I draw on their lessons on a regular basis. Doc, I'm still using the same signs we used. So if I ever play an 11U game against Dave, I'm going to have to switch him up. Yeah. And when I pitched for Dale, it wouldn't matter if it was the first visit, the second visit to the mound. I'd start walking towards him. And he'd be like, get back there. And then he'd calmly tell me the approach and the strategy to get through the inning. And now when I coach my own kids, they do the same thing. And I can hear myself saying, get back there, get back there. And I hear Dale's voice in my head. And it just brings a smile over my face. And as children of coaches, we're forced to share our parents with so many others. And I'd like to say thank you to the families of Dale, Doc, and Paul for sharing their fathers and husbands with us. It truly is a gift. And lastly, during the pandemic, Pete Margis and I often would connect for a virtual beer. And those conversations always led back to baseball, always led back to our playing days. We always talked about how lucky we were to grow up in a place with such a wealth of baseball knowledge. In one of those conversations, Pete asked me, how and why did our coaches gain such a level of knowledge and love for the game, creating this environment that we were lucky enough to play in? What was their story? It was a great question, and it was one that I had never really thought about before. I know Dad's love affair with baseball began on a farm outside of Woodstock with a transistor radio and the Boston Red Sox. It was an escape, a passion that could whisk him away from whatever was going on in the present for at least 162 days a year. The rest of the year, the Bruins to a lesser extent, and he hated the Pats for one simple reason. If they were doing well, it took media coverage away from the Boston Red Sox. He quickly turned his passion into baseball. From baseball into coaching. And when I started playing, continued with Andrew's age group, obsessively watching coaching videos, drills, and techniques. He was a true self-taught student of the game. And he didn't actually play baseball growing up. And on that note, he was lucky to have Dale, Doc, and Paul as peers and mentors in that journey. He loved every minute of his coaching career. And I know bringing Andrew's age group through minor baseball and their successes was a huge, huge sense of pride. Dad's story started on that farm, but it grew to a level that I don't even think he knew could be possible in this town, in this community. And so this weekend, as we celebrate Dale Allen, I'm excited to learn the answer to Pete's question. Why? Why were we all so lucky to have Dale Allen as a baseball icon in Woodstock? Thank you.
Think of the fact that we lost Barney so long ago, it's hard to believe. When the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004, he was the first person that I thought of. And when I heard that his son Andrew was going to be working for the Yankees, again, he was the first person that I thought of. And I do, Mike, I heard a rumor that you've become a huge Yankees fan. Is that true? Oh, wow. That's family dedication, is what that is right there. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. So we're on to the next person. I want to say one story before I get to the next person, because I've never thanked them for this. In 1993, I played for Paul. We were lucky enough to, and quite a few teammates right here in this room, we were lucky enough to win the provincial championships in Fredericton, and then went on to Newfoundland and win the Atlantics, which was fabulous for everybody, except the fact that the guys were in their last year of midget, didn't get to go on to nationals the next year. So, it was a great time, but I remember Dewey Scriver still got the smile on his face because he got to go to nationals and I didn't. 3 years later, just on a random weekend, it was on a Sunday, I remember I got a call from Paul Allen asking me if I wanted to go to nationals. And I never thanked him for that, because I know that he knew that I wanted to go so bad in 93. For him to give me that chance 3 years later and have the time of my life, I've never forgot that. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. Here's the crappy part of that story. We went to nationals. We're in the gold medal game. We're up 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th, I believe it was, or top of the 7th, and a guy hits a grand slam off to beat us. But it was still worth the trip. I will say that. To speak on behalf of the Allen family, and I'm going to call up Dwight Scriver to say a few words.
Dave, you got your booster there. Thanks, Steve, for letting me go after them 2 families. One guy was on Rogers Field, and his brother's with the Dominican Yankees. Thanks. Thanks a lot. It's hard to compete with that. So about a month ago, I was laying in bed before getting up the next morning to go to work, and I got a text from Steven. And I knew all about this, and I went to a lot of meetings about it. 1, I think. And I thought you and Holly had it all under control. It was good. Everything was good about it. So I got a text, and Steven said, would you give a speech about Paul? And I said, do you know me? I said, second question was, is there a bar? He said, yes. So I said, well, I'll try. So today, I had pretty well my speech ready, and I got talking to Nathan and Hughes and asking them anything that they want to bring up or anything like that. And I think you made the right choice, Stephen. I don't know if I'm that good, but them 2 aren't. So I was asking, actually I lie. Mark did give me a story, Bud gave me a grunt. That's good. So I asked if there was any stories on PA, and PA never got thrown out of any games. He never had much fun coaching, I don't think. Unlike us, get thrown out once a year. So, and Hughes brought this up. Not quite sure what it was Pee Wee or Bantam. We were taking ground balls at practice, and Daryl was playing second base. Well, Daryl played one off to the side, booted it. Well, PA didn't like it. I don't know if the Yankees lost the night before or what it was, but he wasn't happy. So next thing you know, for 5 minutes straight, just drilling ground balls at Daryl. And I'll tell you, Daryl did well. He might have took a couple off the chest, but he fielded most of them. So and that's what made Daryl a great second baseman, come midget and Bantam, and probably one of the best hitters in New Brunswick, in midget. Real good hitter. And another story, Mom wanted me to bring up. I was talking to her today. And I said, Mom, this is pretty PG, but anyway. So we were on a bus trip to Bunbury, PEI. Yeah, we took a bus over, and Dad was there, and there might have been a few toddies in the back of that bus. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, she said, bring up. Paul turned around and mooned the whole bunch of parents and the players. And I said, I won't bring that up tonight, Donna, I said. So I'm going to go on a few little things that, well, Stephen mentioned a couple, but in 1986, would have been my second year Mosquito, because I think my first year was Gordy was the coach. It's my first year. Stephen Jones was on the team, Gary McCaskill, Peter, and Bud, and Mark. We became Fredericton League champs. We beat Fredericton Pizza Hut 1-0 on a two-hitter thrown by Daryl McCrory. He threw it against Steve McCarthy and Steve Hicks. And back then, when you beat Fredericton in anything, was huge. Like, it's funny because Paul and I were just talking before, and Paul said if we went 8-24 in the season, as long as them 8 wins were against Fredericton, he didn't care. He said that changed. He said when he went to the Evil Empire in midget, and it was 8-24, as long as them 8 wins were against us, he was happy. So in 1987, we were Mosquito Provincial Champs in Sackville, and we hosted Atlantics that year in Woodstock, and we ended up coming second place to a team out of Yarmouth. And I remember there was a picture, I just looked at it today. Colin Jeffrey was his name, and Mark and Bud could probably remember this. First time we ever seen a curveball. And I'm gonna message this guy because I was never able to hit a curveball from Mosquito up to midget, and he's the reason right there, that Colin Jeffrey. They beat us 2-0 in Atlantics. In 1988, that Bunbury tournament I was just talking about, we came first in that, beat Riverview in the finals. We ended up coming second in provincials, lost to Douglastown. In 1990, once again, second at provincials, lost to Newcastle. It was probably the toughest loss of my life. Back then, you had to beat the team twice, double elimination. So first game, we beat Newcastle. I'm not quite sure the score. Second game, we were down a run, bottom of the sixth, had the bases loaded, nobody out, and we couldn't get a run across. And when you drive 3 hours from Miramichi to Woodstock in a Scriver vehicle and there isn't a word said, you know it was a tough loss. In 1992, the Bantam team, JCs, we picked up a guy from Edmundston named Gary Parker. Gary was a great pickup, great pitcher, great hitter, and we started that season 17-0. 17-0, and we end up in the finals against Chatham again, and we end up coming second again. We hosted Atlantics that year, and who would have thought we lost again to Chatham in the finals. In the 1993 midgets that Stephen just talked about, there's an asterisk beside it for me. It's the first year that I never had PA as a coach. I decided to take the summer off, didn't feel like playing that year, and I don't know if it was me or what, but the boys went on to win provincials and Atlantics. But like Stephen said, I was lucky enough to go to nationals the next year. Thank you, Stephen. 1994, the last year I had PA as a coach. We went to nationals, Fort Saskatchewan. We picked up 5 players. Keith Stewart from Newcastle, Rob Livingston from Moncton, Timmy Moore from St. John, Charlie Summers from Charlottetown, and Ryan Snare from Dartmouth, Halifax. We ended up, first game of the nationals, getting trounced by Quebec, 10-0, I believe it was. From then on, the rest of the nationals, we beat Saskatchewan, we beat BC, we beat the host, Fort Saskatchewan, and we were playing against Ontario. The winner was automatically in the finals. We were up 2-0 in the 6th inning. And I was reading today, Ontario scored 5 runs on us. In the 6th inning, we ended up losing 5-3. We were that close to being in the gold medal game at nationals through PA. So what I want to say, Stephen has said it, Mike Wright has said it, Dave has said it, is thank you. Thank you for putting in your time over them years. And not just thank you, but thank Gail, Melanie, Kathy for letting you give your time where you could be at a lake, you could be traveling, but for 10 years of coaching me, Bud, Mark, thank you. Thank you for contributing in baseball to the town of Woodstock. Thank you for being a great role model for all of us. And thank you for bringing us 12 guys every other year as a family. A family that when we see each other still today, we'll see each other in the grocery store, we still talk. Seen you last year, the provincials in Fredericton. Once again, we just got trounced by Fredericton on a Saturday morning game. And PA comes into the dugout, I'm getting changed, and big grin on his face. Yankees are playing good ball that time of year in August, anyway, last year. And he's going on about the Yankees beating the Red Sox, Yankees beating the Red Sox. It's funny, though. In October, when who won the one-game playoff, I never heard from you. That's the biggest thing. Thank you very much, Paul Allen.
Well, I guess it's this evening is a real pleasure to be, I guess, recognized by all the people here in Woodstock, but to be recognized by the other three people here as well. I did notice that 3 of those 4 people happen to be very great supporters of the Yankees. And finally, we got one of those rights on the right trip too. Anyway, I haven't got a lot to say. I don't remember the mooning incident at all. But I do. It's hard. You accept an award, I guess, and in recognition. But you know, I think over the years, that probably I was the one to gain the most out of this. When I think. I see a lot of people out there that I met through baseball, and there are people I would not have met if it hadn't been for baseball. So I guess I'm the winner there. And the other thing is to see people like Stephen and Dewey, thank you for the nice words, Nathan, Mark, all the other players that were here. It's nice to see all of those people here. What I really like is when I see some of the guys that I coached, they are now coaching themselves. And I know that they would make really good coaches. And the last thing I'm going to say is that the last year that I coached, I was coaching in Fredericton, and Dewey was right. I always wanted to beat Woodstock. And I think that in the last 2 years, I was coaching junior. Dale was coaching junior up here. In Fredericton, we won the championship 1 year. Next year, Woodstock won. I said, well, Dale, we got to coach 1 more year. And he said, I'm done. He said, I'm done coaching. And I said, well, I have no incentive then if you're not going to hang around. So both of us, I think 2000 was the last year that we really coached. So again, thank you. And I really appreciate everybody coming out this evening. I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody, but hopefully before I leave, at least to get a chance to say a few words to people. Again, thanks very much.
Okay. Just before we get Dale, Billy Saunders brought this up to me, and he said, now his story is, he figures about 1980, Billy, sometime around 1980, and he's convinced it's someone from Woodstock that said that, and he's quite sure it's not Andy Merchant. Sent him this towel, and it says, when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang yourself. Bill. So if you didn't think it was a rivalry, I guess that pretty well covers that. The funny thing is, he brought it up to me, and he seemed so proud of it. Probably not the only time Billy was threatened, but we'll move on. Mr. Allen. That's how I always knew him. Before I get to that, though, I do want to make one mention. Bill Parcells, a coach, longtime football coach, they talk about his coaching tree. And all the coaches like Bill Belichick that coached underneath him. And then they talk Nick Saban, and they talk about Nick Saban's coaching tree and all the coaches that coached underneath him. Well, when I started going down through the coaches, they all seem to start from that main tree, and that was the Dale Allen coaching tree. Some people we have not mentioned tonight are a lot of great assistant coaches. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of them work with me and work with these folks. Doug Lawrence is in the room. Peter Caverhill. I don't think I saw Peter. Is Peter here? Peter Caverhill is a longtime coach. Someone that, again, like Dale McWayne, is still coaching. Jack Taylor has put in years and years in Woodstock minor baseball. Gordy Jones is around here somewhere, probably drinking a beer. There he is. Rod McCaskill, we're thrilled to have around. Is Rod still here? Go on. Went upstairs. Tony Hughes. Is Tony here? Tony Hughes, a lot of... another one that was brought to my attention, Richard Bull. And I'm sure there's some that I'm missing. I know another one with John Whelan was another one that was mentioned to me. And then you have the connector that was an assistant coach under Dale Allen, and then became a head coach and coached with me for years, Andy Lenahan, who's hit both of the trees. So Andy's coached junior with Dale, and then has coached minor ball for a number of years. So Andy Lenahan. And then I'm just going to include some others that are currently coaching. You've heard a lot of the names. Sean Jones, Dewey Scriver, Mark Thornton, Aaron Lenahan, Dave McWayne, who have all are, like Paul Allen said, back and coaching and giving their time back to the community. So and if you look at all those names, Dale Allen is tied in there one way or the other, whether he coached with them whether he was just a mentor coach or whether he coached us. Funny enough, I'm probably one of the only people of our age group. Dale was never my head coach. I played a few games that I was called up with the junior team when I was a midget and played 4 or 5 games with him. He was never my head coach. But I remember baseball camps. I remember my son is back in the room there somewhere. And when we started, and I started teaching him how to hit, I taught him the things that Dale Allen coached me on how to hit. And I've always had a ton of respect. We haven't spoken enough. Art Slip mentioned it, and I thank you for that, Art. Dale Allen, the administrator, the teacher, I had so much respect for him as my principal. And that got to me to the point, Mr. Allen, that's the way. I remember the first time that I called him Dale, I felt completely uncomfortable because he's always going to be, always will be Mr. Allen to me. And I think a lot of us feel that way. He is Mr. Baseball. He has created, when Dave Moffat over the meetings was telling a lot of great stories. And the one group that we haven't talked a lot about here tonight is the Shire Tanners. And the Shire Tanners are where they started. I've heard so much about 1979 over the last 6 years, and I've just eaten it up. It's been the stories, and it's been so wonderful to hear. And it's great to see some of those folks here. And I remember my brother Scott, still, when I mentioned him the other day, he said, Mark Sullivan over the left field wall. And he, just vividly remembers it. And that's kind of, baseball is just, it was all about Dale Allen. He was responsible for that team and bringing that team together and making it what it was. And we're going to have, again, a great celebration tomorrow. I've got a number of, we're going to have a slideshow after in a few minutes, and that has a lot of information on it. I do want to read a couple things before I ask Peter to come up. I do want to read a couple of things that people that have sent me. Mike already mentioned it. Dave Jouse sent a message. He said, I am Dave Joust and had the fondest and warmest memories of starting my baseball coaching career in Woodstock, New Brunswick back in 1980. He said, Dale took a flyer on me as a young, inexperienced, non-native head coach for his dearly loved Shire Tanners. Without his trust, it would not have happened, and I'm greatly indebted to him, as many of us are in this room. He was a strong man of principle who loved his family, the game of baseball, and the town. His guidance and support with the introduction to his awesome brother, and Paul didn't help me write that, it's actually in there. His awesome brother Paul and his wonderful family is an example of what he meant to the game of baseball in town, community, and province. I'll lift up a glass of sparkling cider rather than schooner for Dale's sake, to give the most heartfelt admiration and honor toward Dale. Peace, Dave Joust. And someone else that really wanted to be here, his family that came to town in Chatham, and it's Greg Morris. Greg was coached a lot against Dale and with Dale for years from the Chatham area. He says, Dale is a great friend, a great person, and a great baseball man. I've known him as a pitching opponent in the senior league, as a coaching opponent in the senior league, but most importantly for me, as a coaching associate and friend. We coached together on the Canada Games team, and on several teams we took to national championships. Dale, who is loved by many Chatham players he coached along the way, and we'll hear from one of them later, is much respected for his knowledge, even temperament, and love of the game. We enjoyed many laughs together discussing baseball and drinking Crystal Light. He loves Crystal Light. Dale deserves the recognition for all he has done for Woodstock area people in sports and in education, and for all he has done for baseball across the province. Take care, Dale. At this time, I would like to invite up Peter Allen to say a few words about his dad.
Thank you, Stephen. First, I want to invite my sister up, Jill, and she's going to give you a little background on Dad.
Hi. Dad would have absolutely loved this. Everybody together that hasn't been together for so very long. Katie, stop crying. I'll stand this way. He just would have loved this. Everybody talking baseball, old times. And like the sign says, Dad raised gentlemen baseball players. You had to have respect. You had to love the game. And you just had to be a gentleman. And he raised a lot of really good young men. I'm sorry he can't be here. For those who don't know, Dad has advanced Parkinson's disease. He is in the end stages. And I know he would have loved to have been here. Let's consider him here in spirit. Remember him the way he was. That's the way I remember my dad. But a funny little story, when I was in grade 2, I got one spelling word wrong. Just one. And it was, of course, socks. Well, in our house, how else do you spell socks? So, other than that, and I also learned the cities of New Brunswick by Ironman Field. I knew all the baseball fields in New Brunswick before I knew anything else, really. But Dad loved baseball, and he loved all of his boys. I know he would have thoroughly enjoyed this, especially tomorrow. I know I'm going to choke up when I hear Donnie Peabody. But I just wanted to let everybody know that he is here in spirit, even though he can't be here in person. Thank you.
Nice to see so many faces here tonight. You know, going back a long ways, and I'm going to touch on one of the old Chartertown stories here in a little bit. But at first, I just want to say thank you to Holly and Stephen, Dave Moffat, Andy Lenahan. I know Stephen came to me about a year ago, I think it was, and he reached out and said, we want to do this for your dad and stuff like that. So I thought it was absolutely great. And he said, if you have any pointers or anything you want to send along, send them along. So got to start today. I got a few funny stories tonight, and then tomorrow will be a little different tone. But first, I just want to recognize my whole family here. We've got Michael. We've got, of course, Paul's family. We got my family down here. We got great turnout. And like I said, we got a lot of the familiar faces. But I'm going to start off with, I just want to say my wife's not here. She's in Halifax. My son was supposed to be here tonight. I don't know if any of you knew, he was supposed to fly in Tuesday night to Bangor. And he called me Tuesday morning and he said, Dad, I got some bad news. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, me and Mom went hiking this weekend. He's in Utah, and he caught COVID. So it was tough because it's been 4 years since he's been up, and, you know, this was probably, I don't know, you know, to me, it was very important that he saw Dad. You know, where Dad's, you know, his health and the way it is, it might have been his last time, I don't know. But anyways, it was good that, you know, I said, we'll get you back up, Jordan. That's no problem at all. But that was, Jordan was really, really upset that he couldn't be here. But I'll start off, and the tone on it, we talk about, you know, Stephen had just mentioned, so I'll start with this first, how everyone basically knew him as Mr. Allen, and whether it was from a coach or from he taught you in school or as a principal. I look at someone here tonight, Alex Kidney, and I said, I'm going to tell him a story about Alex right off the bat. And another guy in the back there, I see Blake McBride. And anyways, how the story went was Alex and I, of course, played together all along, and we would go to the junior games. And I think it was when Blake and Andy and those guys were playing junior. So we'd stand down by the dugout, and all of a sudden I hear Blake say, "Hey, Dale." And Alex would get this big laugh on his face, be smiling and stuff. And he said, "You know, Pete, I can't wait till I can call him Dale." It was almost like it was a rite of passage. You know, you transition from a boy to a man when you could call him Dale. So I always remember that about Alex, yeah, because when we were growing up as Mr. and Mrs. Kidney, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Lenahan. So Alex was waiting for the day that he could call him Dale. Start off on that, but now with some Jordan stories. Of course, if you were born in Allen, when you came out of the womb, you weren't going to get a binky or a bottle or anything like that. You were going to get a baseball glove and a baseball bat. And Jordan learned from a young age that Grampy was pretty serious about his baseball. So when Jordan would come up, I still remember Mom having her first chat with Jordan saying, I don't know if a lot of the moms are like this or not, but she would say, "Jordan, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's about having fun." And if eyes rolled made a sound, then you could hear it from Heartland probably, because I look over and Dad's got his head down and he's just like this, and he says, "Lorraine, we'll take her from here." So he says, "You know, Grammy's partially right, Jordan." It is about having fun, but he said, winning is fun. He said, losing is not fun. He said, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. So Jordan learned from a young age that Grampy was pretty serious. But, you know, right from the start, when Jordan would come up, Dad would have him up the field and they'd have some, you know, Grampy grandson bonding time. So I remember they came back one day and I said, "So Jordan, what did you and Grampy do today?" And he said, "Well, Grampy threw balls at me." And I sort of looked and I said, "Oh, you must mean he threw you batting practice." "No, he threw balls at me." And so I sort of knew where he was going with this, but he said, "So why did he do that? What was he trying to teach you?" He said, "Well, he was trying to teach me not to be afraid of the ball." I said, "Okay, well, I can sort of see that." And he goes, "But Dad," he says, "I don't know if Grampy knows or not, but getting hit with a tennis ball is a lot different than getting hit with a baseball." Because Dad had the bucket full of tennis balls. He said, "Jordan, stay in there." So he'd throw them at him, and he said, "No, that doesn't hurt that badly, does it?" And Jordan was, "Yeah, but it's a tennis ball, Dad." So, but probably one of the biggest highlights, I would say, of Dad's career, not just, you know, coaching and everything, was he and I got a chance to go to Cooperstown, New York. Now, a lot of you who are baseball fans would probably know that Cooperstown is the home of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But what you might not know is that it's got a huge Little League baseball complex. And at the time, Little League in the States goes up to age 12. So at the time, what they do, every year they invite 104 teams in per week from all over US, Canada. They invite 104 teams, you apply for it, and they invite you in. They've got 25 fields there. It's absolutely amazing. And they've got every type of level of baseball. They had Jordan's team from Fort Myers was probably, I'd say, right about in the middle. But they had, for example, teams they called the Texas 12, and I don't know if any of you remember the name or not. Shane Reynolds was a pitcher for the Houston Astros. He coached his son, and these guys were legit. Like, they would fly 12-year-olds in to pitch one game for them and then fly them back out. So they were some pretty serious. But I'll tell you, they hustled, they ran, they weren't standing watching their home runs. They were coached right too. But anyways, the funny part about it was, I guess Jordan must have told his coach how serious Grampy was about baseball. He said, "You're going to get to meet my dad and my Grampy. They're coming down to watch." So coach thought, okay, good. And Coach Pickett, who was coaching Jordan, just to give you an idea, he played at Florida State himself. He was big on coaching. Some of you would probably know the name Shane McClellan from Tampa Bay, who's probably should be the starter pitcher for the All-Star team right now. He coached him. So anyways, first game, Jordan got to pitch. So that was a big honor for Dad and I to be there. And so we're sitting there watching, and about the third inning, I go to the restroom. And I come back, and I don't see Dad anywhere. So I'm looking all over for him, and I sort of look, and all of a sudden, I see someone in the dugout. And I thought, oh, here we go. So Dad's got the scorebook out, and he's charting pitches and everything. You know, not part of the team at all, just going to work his way in there, he figures. So Coach Pickett came over to me, and he said, yeah, Jordan said that your grampy's pretty serious about baseball. And he said, but I've never seen anyone keep a scorebook like that guy. He's charting pitches, he's doing this, he's doing that. He said, these kids are 12 years old. And I said, Coach, you're going to be lucky if you have a job by the end of the week. He's gonna be down there on the third baseline, and you're gonna be sitting in that dugout somewhere. So, but anyways, I'll just leave you with the best story, I think, and this is an old Shiretown story. And I see Billy in the back there. Billy Senior Baseball, huge baseball coach, fan. They and Dad went at it many times, but they had mutual respect for each other. And I see Billy's biggest fan here, Ann DeMerchant. Yeah, Ann. I had to laugh because I see Ann's permanent fixture was down there on the third baseline, and she would just give it to Billy the whole game. Just torment him, and Billy was pretty good, I'll tell you that. He played right back. Yeah, he was good. Anyways, I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe Bobby could answer this. Bobby, I don't know, did you play on the intermediate team with Dale Peterson and them that went to Cape Breton? Okay. Yeah, Pete, yeah. Okay, there you go. This is about Pete, actually. So I think it was 75 or 76, and Dale Peterson was quite a baseball player, guys. I'll tell you that right now. Well, this was the year that I think at that time Nova Scotia had a strike for liquor store. So the boys won the provincial tournament, and they were on their way to Nova Scotia. Well, they couldn't buy any booze in Nova Scotia, so they decided that they were going to stop in New Brunswick and get some beer for down later. And Dad said they packed the van full. Like, this wasn't a couple beers for each guy. They were going to go heavy. So anyways, they get there that night. They're going to play a doubleheader on Saturday. Sunday would have been the third game if they needed, but they got there Friday night, and Dad starts going over the room assignments. So-and-so's with so-and-so, so-and-so's with so-and-so. Anyways, he gets to the last part, and he says, and Pete, you're with me. And the next words that came out of Pete's mouth, let's say, I think they say today they're called not safe for work words, maybe? I think you could sort of understand what would come out. Well, let's just say Pete was not impressed with his bunkmate that night because he knew he wasn't going to have any fun. So Dad said, I wasn't a total monster. I, let Pete have a beer or two. He said, no more than two, I know that. So he said, I want Pete ready to go for the next day. So next day comes up, and this was probably, was it early October, Pete? Late September? Yeah, October. Then that's what I was alluding to, how cold it would have been. So the weather wasn't very nice, and they got up on Saturday, and it was rainy, and it was cold, just miserable. But he expected Pete to be ready to go. So he told me to this day, he said, I've never seen anyone put on a show the way Pete put on that day. And he said he did it on both sides. Pitched the first game, got the win. So Woodstock was the visiting team, or the home team, the second game. And he said, this wasn't when they had pitch counts back then. So when you threw, you threw. So he said, Pete was doing well. I was going to keep him going. So Pete pitched the second game. Now, I don't know how many innings he went, but I know that he went enough so that they got to win the second game too. But he said, and he was a monster. I think he had 4 home runs, maybe 12 RBIs that day. And it got to a point where Pete came up with the bases loaded, and one of their fans stand up and they said, just walk them. They'll only get one. That was the tear he was on. So anyways, they won that game, so they won it all. So they went back to the hotel that night, and all Dad told them was just leave me alone. You guys go have your fun, just keep me out of it. And the story went, now I can't remember who the poor guy was, Pete, but I think one of them passed out a little bit early, and the boys decided they were going to have some fun with him. So they stripped him down and turned the air conditioning on in the hotel room, left the door open, and then they forgot about him. So it wasn't until the next morning that anyone even said so. And then they thought, oh, Jesus, we left him in there all by himself, stripped naked and stuff. But I think that probably would have taught the guy to be drinking with those guys. Anyways, just like I said, so many good faces here, all the way up through senior baseball and everything. And, Mom sent me a quick text, and she said, just mention to them that, with the shape Dad's in, even they'll be watching a game on TV, and Dad will be talking to the pitchers saying, stay ahead in the counts, brush him back, get him off the plate, stuff like that. And Mom just sits there and laughs because she says he's still in there. He knows what he's doing and stuff like that. But yeah, he would have loved to be here tonight. And it's just amazing for me to hear the impact that he's had on so many people. And, like I said, that's why I would like Jordan to be up here too, because I told him, I said, Jordan, it'd be nice to see the impact that Dad's had on so many people, not just on the baseball field, but like they had mentioned, he was very big on raising gentlemen. That was the key thing. He wanted to send out men that were going to be good husbands, good fathers, good colleagues to work with and everything, and that was very important to him. So anyways, like I said, he would have loved to be here. We'll talk a little bit more. You're going to get me more tomorrow night as well, so I'll cut her off there now. But like I said, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and for the family. So what we'll do, Steve, is we'll have the family come up now so they can take the picture. It's going to be a pretty big family picture here, but we'll go from there.
Okay, we're going to turn this right over to the slideshow. There's a lot of different pictures here. There's 2 messages at the end that we'll turn the volume up for those.
Hey Dale, Mike McIntosh here from sunny, hot North Carolina. Gonna miss your appreciation evening. I really wish I could have been a part of it. Just wanted to give you all the praise and accolades that you deserve for myself. Just learned a lot from you, pitching, hitting, just always looked to you for a role model, and your patience was exemplary. And just wanted to say thank you for the years of baseball that when I was under your leadership. Just missed this event. Actually was in New Brunswick until July 4th, and we come back to North Carolina. So bad timing on my part, but hope you see this video, and take care. Thanks.
Hey Dale, Jason Dixon here. Congratulations on what looks like is going to be an outstanding weekend in your honor. I'm not able to make it. I'm here at the office at Baseball Canada, but you're probably the one person who can appreciate making a sacrifice so that the kids can be out on the field. So really wish I could be there. Gonna miss seeing you, miss seeing Pete, some of the boys talking baseball for the weekend. A lot of good memories, and just wanted to really say thank you. You were a big part in my baseball career, teaching me how to be a better pitcher, probably more importantly, teaching me how to be a better person. So I can't thank you enough for that. Like I said, a lot of great memories around the ballpark, and a couple always stand out every time we get into a Dale Allen conversation. One is I clearly remember you strapping on the catching gear and taking me and Pete and Jeff Mitchell down to the bullpen. I think we're getting ready for a tournament, Canada Games or something like that. And the three of us were fairly hard throwers, probably throwing 90 plus, but still young enough, not really understanding where it was going. And I always shook my head. I always thought you were a smarter guy than that, but obviously your concern and care for us getting ready for the tournament and being a better pitcher easily overshadowed the lumps that you would take. And Lord knows there was a lot of them, but we beat you up pretty good down there. But I think about that often because I can't see myself doing that now, so good on you. And the other, which always makes me laugh out loud, is it was a pretty good chance that we'd see the Yankee hat on any of the road trips we went on. Obviously with the Yankees, the Yankee pride of the Yankees and the heat that you took for that. But it is no doubt that the torment and torture that you took from Jimmy Lorden and Alex Kidney on the yellow slacks that you would break out on some of our road trips. I'll never forget those. So some good memories. Again, I wish I could be there with you this weekend. I think this weekend is about you. You've done so much for so many other people, and so this one is all about you. Enjoy it and take care, my friend.